Hey peeps, in today's video we'll be engraving clay.
So here's what we got to work with. We picked up this little clay pot, which is so cute, that we're gonna use our rotary to engrave on and a saucer for it to sit on, and we're gonna engrave this as well. To engrave, we're gonna use our Longer Nano Pro 12-watt diode laser because we realized that we can actually get some pretty cool results with that. Now the plan is to engrave along this edge here all the way around the circumference, as well as a small little design here, which means for our rotary, we're gonna need to get two different measurements, one for the diameter of this circle, about 70.5 for the top, and one for the diameter of about the middle of our project here, and 51 for our middle. Now the reason we need two different measurements here is because the diameter of this is much larger than the diameter of this side, because this is very trapezoidal, as you can see here. And we need to account for that change as the rotary is spinning around there. We need to set our diameter for each of our different designs. Now for our saucer, we're just going to get a rough idea of the diameter of our saucer. Don't have to be perfect here. We just need to know what we're working with here for space. We'll say 85 millimeters. Now that we have our measurements, we're going to go ahead and start with engraving this saucer because we don't have to set up the rotary for it. We can just put it down on our laser, and it's currently configured that way anyway. In LightBurn, I'm going to go ahead and change to our laser, which is a Nano Pro. You can see here the workspace is configured for a rotary project, and we're going to go ahead and adjust that back to its standard design, which is 100 by 100 millimeters. So now we're going to go ahead and bring in our design, which we're going to go ahead and use this for the saucer. Pretty intricate. I'm going to trace this. I'm going to zoom in here real quick to make sure we're going to get a good tracing, and I can adjust the threshold as necessary to make sure we're capturing all of the bits of the design, just like that. Okay, and obviously I need to shrink this down. We said the diameter of our saucer was 85, so I'm going to make sure that this is smaller than 85. And I'm just going to hit P to center this. So now for our settings, I'm going to go to our material library, and we've saved and tested on clay before, so I'm going to go ahead and click this clay setting. We have a nice dark gray setting here that we can use. You can see here the settings. The speed is 3,000 millimeters per minute and a max power of 90%, one pass, and a 0.06 millimeter interval. And that gives us really good dark gray results, and we kind of like that. So that's what we're going to go with for that. And I think we're all set. I'm going to get this focused. I can double check that with our little measuring stick here. That's pretty good. I always forget this, but I have to make sure I hit the switch carving mode in order to get the laser to work. Now the whole reason that we focus this without this on, even though we know we're going to have to refocus it after putting this on, is because you can't see the framing light with this on, because obviously this guard is supposed to protect you from the light that is emitted from the main laser. And of course, that framing light is the main laser. So when we frame with this on, we can't see the framing. So we have to make sure that we focus it in order to frame it, and then defocus it in order to get this on, and then refocus it. Kind of a pain, but worth it to protect your eyes over here. We also like using this particular guard because it's got an integrated fan on the back that kind of sucks out any smoke. Now there's not going to be much smoke off of clay, but still worth it to protect your eyes. All right, so we got perfect results here for our saucer. Now it's time to set up our rotary with the machine. Okay, so now that we have the rotary roughly set up, we need to change some configuration of LightBurn and get ourselves prepared for engraving our design. So the first thing I need to do is change our work area. And according to the instructions, we can change our height to 480 millimeters. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way because we don't need it anymore. But what I do want to do now is I want to make sure that we're going to be switching to our rotary extension. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on. Okay, so we're now connected, and I'm going to go ahead and switch to rotary extension. And we are now switched to our rotary. Now I'm going to right click now because I need to enter in the diameter of the area that we're working with. And we're going to work on that top ridge first. So that's going to be our larger diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and put that value in. We measured out at 70.5 and hit OK. All right, so an issue that happens with our computer here, our software, is once I edit that macro, it seems to lock us out of selecting anything. So I'm going to close LightBurn and reopen it. I'm going to go to our recent project, which is our clay pot. And I'm going to switch rotary extension, and we're good. Kind of a weird nuance with our LightBurn. So what I'm going to do now is kind of draw a work area box, put on a toolpath here, of some dimensions I want to work with. So what I'm going to do is kind of figure out the circumference of our little box here. And really easy to do that. We just take the diameter and multiply it by pi. If our diameter is 70.5, multiply that by pi, and our circumference is going to be 221.4. We'll just put it 0.5, it's close enough. And then for our width that we're going to be working with, we're just going to call, say, 13. Oops, I had that locked dimension. So this is going to be the workspace that we're going to be working with around that outer edge. And what we're going to be trying to do is duplicate a design to make it look seamless, so it kind of perfectly goes around. So how we're going to do that is kind of use this little grid tool. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our design real quick, which is just going to be this little flower. And I'm going to go ahead and right click that, trace image. I'm going to put that on our engraving layer and then shrink this down. Just get it about to the size that I want it, working inside my box here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it about halfway on this line here. And then I'm going to use my grid tool to kind of duplicate it until I get basically a flower here that's midway on this line. And that will mean our spacing is going to be 100% accurate. So I'm going to use my grid tool here. And I'm going to increase my number of rows. Okay, so we're close here. And what I can do is I can just increase the spacing. That's close enough. That will mean that we get basically perfect spacing between all of them. Even when it goes all the way around, there's going to be a gap there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK on that. And now I need to delete one of these because I don't want them to kind of overlap. So I'm going to make them individual, delete that. and then I'm going to group them all back together. And then I'm just going to hit both and center. So now you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So this line here and this line here should meet right at each other, and the spacing should be correct. So we're going to be using the same settings that we used before. Let's go here and see, yep, same settings. And now we need to set up the machine to get it focused and in the right area. So let's do that. And now I'm going to frame. Okay, I gotta move this over. Now what I'm doing here is making sure that this is going to engrave in the center of this little band, and I also need to make sure that this blue light is directly on the top of our pot, because that's going to be our focused area. This is really easy to set up. I'm going to go ahead and put this taped here so we can see, make sure we're ending in the right spot. That's perfect. So now, really important here, we're unable to use our shield here because it will come, get in the way with our rotary axis. So very, very important that you wear your glasses, and you also make sure that nobody walking through your area is going to be inadvertently looking at your laser. So if you've got a laser on sign, put it on before you do this. All right, we have perfect results. You can see we can't tell the seam, so every flower is evenly spaced apart, which is exactly what we were going for. Okay, so now what we need to do is get this focused about right in the middle. You can see, again, we're on a trapezoid here, so we can't really focus to one end because we'll be out of focus for the other end. So we're going to focus to right at the middle. So we're going to use this ruler again, right at the top of our design, and get us focused. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to get this out of the way, and we're going to bring in our third design. And let's trace this. And now we need to size this appropriately, so we need to take a measurement of the height that we can work with. See if we make it about that tall, about 30. That should work. So I'm going to lock the perspective and change the height to 30. And then I'm going to rotate this negative 90 degrees, because it needs to be like that. Now I'm going to save our project because I need to change our macro again, because we have a different diameter for the middle of the pot than we do the top. So I'm going to go back to the console. I'm going to right click on switch rotary extension, and I'm going to put in our value. I believe we measured at 51 millimeters. Hit OK. Try framing it to see if it'll work. Nope, we're locked again. So I'm going to go ahead and close LightBurn. It's really weird issue that we have. If anyone has any idea of how we can fix this, please let us know. Okay, I'm going to go back to our recent projects. Yes, switch to our laser, and then we're going to go back to switch rotary extension, and we're connected. Going to select that. I think we're set up. Pretty cool results. All right, let's get this out of here. Love it. Now that we've engraved our pot for spring plants, it's time to do some spring cleaning. And we can do that easily with our Super Clean products.
A huge thanks to Super Clean for sending us these cleaning products. If you want to keep your workspace super clean, we'll have the link to their products in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, the laser we used in this video, as well as the Super Clean products we used, will be linked in the description if you're interested.